Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. I know I've been gone for a while, but I can't stop thinking about this case. The Chad Doerman case is very close to home. I live in this same county, and it took place about 30 minutes from where I live. So let's get into it. On June 15th, 2023, in New Richmond, Ohio, 32-year-old Chad Doerman lined up his three sons, ages 3, 4, and 7, and fatally shot them. New Richmond is in Clermont County and has a population of around 2,774. The family's home was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home on about 4 acres of land. So while there are some nearby houses, several neighbors reported that they didn't hear anything. We now know from court documents and the bond hearing that one son was able to run away, but he tracked him down, brought him back home where his brothers were, and shot him too. I'm not 100% if he was married to their mother or not, but she was there, and she made the first 911 call around 4:15 saying her babies had been shot. She too was shot in the hand while trying to protect her boys and was taken to UC Medical Center. Her daughter, Chad's stepdaughter, Alexis, who is 16 years old, was seen running down the street screaming her stepfather was killing everyone. This witness also called 911, and here's what she had to say.
She was running with a little black lab, and she was screaming, "Call 911, call 911." She says, my stepfather is shooting everyone in my household.
Alexis was unharmed and made it to a nearby fire station in an attempt to get help. As you can see from this video, the fire station is very close to the home and right next door. The fire station made a call to dispatch, and if you'd like to hear the full dispatch call, you can see my video that I've uploaded as well. I will also upload in a separate video the full version of the body cam footage where Chad is arrested. He's being charged with 3 counts of aggravated murder, and his bond has been set to $20 million.
State of Office is Chad Doerman, 2023 CRA 1975. This matter is before the court today for purposes of bond hearing. Mr. Kellam, you were here on behalf of Mr. Doerman. Mr. DeCalvi, Mr. Gast on behalf of the state of Ohio. Mr. Kellam as the bond. Go ahead, sir.
As the bond, Your Honor, he is 32 years old. He lives in Richmond, married, is employed. He indicates that his relatives, Gloria Doerman, Todd Frost, and Keith Doerman, may act as co-signers for him. At this time, Your Honor, we would submit to the court that a bond of $75,000 with order conditions would be appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. DeCalvi.
Judge Mark DeCalvi, Clermont County Prosecutor on behalf of the state. At this point, I'm going to let Mr. Gast handle the bond on our behalf. Thank you.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Judge, we've got law enforcement with us here today. Our office has been involved. Lots of people in our office have been involved with law enforcement throughout yesterday, afternoon, evening, all the way through this morning. And the facts I have for you at this point are as follows. The trauma that this man has inflicted on his family, the community, law enforcement, first responders, and all of the rest of us who have any idea what's going on here is unspeakable. There's been a full admission in this case, Judge. The case is still new. We're still discovering facts. But the evil horror of what we know is impossible to process. In an act of just incomprehensible cruelty, the father that stands before you lined up his 3 young boys, and he executed them in his own home with a rifle. They were ages 3, 4, and 7, Judge. In an act of desperation to save her children, the mother at some point grabbed the gun that father was wielding to attempt to protect them. We know that one of the boys was able to flee into a field near the home. And again, we know from his admission, father hunted that boy down, drug him back to the property, and executed him in front of witnesses. The mother was shot through the hand in her attempt to protect her children. Judge, I asked the court in setting this bond to just begin to imagine their fear. This was the man that every day they woke up looking to for protection, love, guidance in all things. The man they trust more than any other person on earth. The person they rely upon to keep them safe from harm. He was their world, he was their guardian, and he executed them in cold blood. We know that from his admission. By that same admission, Judge, he has committed one of the most monstrous, craven, cowardly acts that will ever be our misfortune to see. To make things even more disturbing, Judge, this was no haphazard act. Again, by his own admission, he planned the events of this day. This did not happen on a whim. He's confessed to what I believe is the worst crime, at least I hope, that I'll see in my lifetime. I hope it's the worst fact pattern that ever comes before this court. Judge, it's important for the court to know in the bond we're going to request today, for the court to understand Clermont County deputies, Monroe Township Fire and EMS, and other first responders bravely respond to the scene where they don't know what's going on. They did not know what they're facing, and they come into a scene that no one can ever be prepared for. No law enforcement training, no training of any kind prepares you for this. It's easy to forget that these are men and women with families, children, feelings, emotions. They're not some automaton performing a delegated function. They're people. They were required to give CPR to gunshot children, 3, 4, and 7-year-old children. They held these boys in their arms, knowing there was nothing they could do to save them. How long do those scars last? What day do you wake up from that and you're healed? How do you unsee such an abomination? The bond factors this court needs to consider today are set forth in Criminal Rule 46, nature and circumstance of the crime charged, and specifically whether the defendant used or had access to a weapon, including the seriousness of the offense. It's the most serious offense that we have on the books, Judge. This is it. You can't commit a more serious offense. So the nature of the crime charge is the worst crime that can be charged. Did he have access to a weapon? Yes, obviously he did. The weight of the evidence against the defendant at this point, Judge, we stand here with a full admission of the defendant. That also goes to the confirmation of the defendant's identity, and witnesses on scene did see at least part of what happened. Next, the court is to consider the likelihood this person would return the court if a bond were issued. Again, this is the most heinous crime with the most severe penalty under the law that we presented to the grand jury. That alone would be a major factor in discouraging a person from availing themselves to this court or any other. And the thought to flee and the likelihood of flight is great in the state's opinion. The danger he poses to the community is a factor that this court can consider, and I think with the facts in front of you, Judge, we can't name a person that poses a greater threat to the community. As his prior record goes, Judge, it is fairly minimal. He was charged with domestic violence in 2010. He is not, to my knowledge, on probation community control. Judge, the facts of this case are hopefully like no other we will ever see. When this case gets indicted in the Court of Common Pleas, I am certain that a no bond hearing will be held, and I would hope that would be granted. But at this point, this juncture, we're going to ask this court to issue a bond we've never asked for before. I'm going to ask for a bond of $20 million. I hope I never need to request such a bond again.
Thank you. Date for preliminary hearing?
date for the preliminary hearing, Judge, is 6/26.
No objection, Your Honor.
The preliminary hearing will be set for June 26th at 1 p.m. At this point in time, bond's going to be set in the amount of $20 million cash or surety. Anything else at this time, Mr. Gast?
No, Judge.
Mr. Cal? Mr. Cal, anything further?
Nothing at this
All
time.
right, thank you.
All rise.
Chad's parents live in Florida and just visited a week prior to the incident. This is what his father Keith had to say. The father of a 32-year-old man who confessed to unaliving his 3 young sons Thursday afternoon says his son just snapped. Keith Doerman, 59, said he has no exact explanation for what happened outside his son's home Thursday when Chad unalived his young children. The grandfather calls the triple murder just terrible. He just snapped. I could tell in his eyes he's hollow inside, Keith Doerman said. That wasn't Chad standing at the arraignment. That was not him. Keith Doerman said he wants to be able to speak to his son, but he's currently not allowed to. I don't know if it was financial. I don't know if it was mental. I don't know if it was work-related. I don't know, Keith Doerman said. I can't talk to him. The 32-year-old was charged with domestic violence in 2010 for allegedly choking his father, but that case was dismissed by a judge. Keith Doerman himself said that charge was a misunderstanding. It's been resolved and there was no story to that one. He wasn't that type of person, Keith Doerman said. He was a fun-loving guy. Though Keith Doerman said he's angry with Chad, he went on to call him a super father, remembering him laughing and joking with his sons. He was a good kid, Keith Doerman said while crying, "It's awful, I can't handle this no more." This is Chad Doerman's Facebook profile, and as you can see, it's mainly pictures of him and his sons. And on June 11th, just 4 days before this incident, he changed his cover photo and profile picture to a picture of him and his sons. The boy's mother, Laura, does not appear to have any social media whatsoever, but her sister did make this post to Facebook. We want the world to know how amazing these babies were. They are not only this tragedy, they were happy and funny, so very funny, goofy, kind, loving boys. They're beautiful and deserve to be proudly displayed. They fished and played ball. They loved fiercely and with their entire hearts. They played together just as hard. Nothing will ever be right without them, but they need to be seen for the blessings they were, the happy lives they lived, the mom who loves them more than herself. They're perfect baby boys.